That's because they don't want them to play out from the back. You see the goalkeeper urging everybody up, and actually at one stage telling the crowd to calm down. So he's been really influenced by the crowd. So he said, push up, and then another chant starts in the crowd. Attack, attack, attack.
Got to blur it for the footage. You never know this guy.
But what Maresca's talking about is this is a team who are not used to going direct, right? So the first thing does, the goalkeeper puts it on the head of Burgess for Ipswich, the best header of the ball in their defence, 6'3", so that's a mistake. Then the positional play of the players around it, again, not used to maybe going long from a goal kick. Fernandez in the wrong position here with the Ipswich player behind him, and Chalobah's position is absolutely ridiculous for a player at this level. Now, if I said to you, where's he playing? I'd say Chalobah's playing as a centre-back in a back four, and the right-back is getting treatment, he's off the pitch. He's actually a right-back in a back four. There's your left-back, centre-back, centre-back, right-back. That is just ridiculous, that position, as I said, he finds himself in. So they're not set up to do it. Ipswich win the header, and then before you know, because of the positional play, the set-up, huge space here, in behind Chalobah, and it finishes with Ben Johnson scoring at the back post and putting 2-0 up. And again, it all just smacks again from the disconnection from the supporters onto the pitch. Look at Fernandez, look at Caicedo. They're screaming at the goalkeeper. Don't be influenced by the crowd. Don't be influenced by it. We keep playing the way we do. But that's right. You shouldn't get influenced by the crowd or just do what the crowd say. But what it tells you is there is no connection between that Chelsea supporters or the man in the dugout.
Well, interesting take there. He sort of, what do you make of what Carragher's saying here? We know Chelsea are under a lot of pressure. They're sort of dropping down in the league. They're struggling to win games. A lot of the fans aren't happy with how they play. But Carragher here really talking about connections between Maresca and the crowd. The crowd don't want Maresca ball. Maresca's ignoring them. What's your thoughts when you hear that, mate?
I mean, it's not exclusive to Carragher. I mean, there's people who do it on YouTube, TikTok. I do think that, and look, it might be a hot take, it might be a minority take, but I do think sometimes we try and be really clever about football when football's really simple. Like, you know, there is 100 minutes of football in a game, and we take 20 seconds and go, this is the big play. And you could give me 2 minutes of football and I could find you 10 examples of stuff like that. So I don't think it's that deep, really. I'd like to know if Chalobah was right back, because that looks to me like a 3 centre-back system with 2 full-backs. But I'd bow down to Carragher's knowledge on that. It didn't look like a back four where Chalobah's playing at right back to me. That looks like they're playing a 3 centre-back system there. But anyway, I think that I don't think a goalkeeper is getting influenced by the crowd, and I don't think a manager would let that happen. I think that is just a natural play that Chelsea have decided to do. And actually, I don't mind that. I don't mind a goalkeeper going long. I mean, what are we trying to say here? He should play out from the back and ignore the crowd. Like, I think fans are fed up of playing out from the back. Like, Man United were doing it at the weekend. Everybody's obsessed with it. I don't mind teams that want to mix it up as well. But ultimately, I think scrutinising these individual little bits of play, you're missing 99% of the rest of the game as well. And we're meant to believe that that's the problem with Chelsea, and I don't think it is.
Yeah, look, I get that. I think it's important. I actually think it's important to mix it up a little bit. We've even heard Pep recently speak about how going long has become popular in football again. And you always see these trends in football because defenders will go for a long period where barely anybody's getting long. So suddenly, especially for a good team with fast players, strong players, suddenly you start knocking balls in long and it really catches defenders off. I remember there was a time where it had been a long while since any team had really played with 2 strikers. And then every now and then you'll see a team do it and the centre-backs can't cope. And they can't cope because suddenly they're being pulled in multiple directions by 2 players. And this is all that's kind of going on now. I get why the fans are upset and angry. At the same time, Maresca has got a style of play, and playing out from the back is a very key component. And I think he's right to do it, even when he doesn't have the right quality, because you have to instill those principles so that as you're adding better players, you're not kind of, again, starting from scratch again. And I think that's a really important part for Chelsea this summer. Like with Man United, their recruitment is so key, because I look at them falling off at the minute. The most big chances missed in the league. Their conversion rate of their chances is at 7%. Only Southampton at 3.3% have got a lower conversion rate this season than Chelsea. And then you look at some of the mistakes defensively, especially on the ball from the goalkeeper. The thing with that is I don't think there's much Maresca can do to coach those problems out. I don't think you could bring Pep and Klopp as the managers. Well, we know what Pep's going to do because we saw it twice at City in his first 2 years. He's just going to keep upgrading his goalkeeper. And I think, we said earlier about managers should persevere and not buy new players. Well, Pep's often heralded as the greatest of his generation, maybe the greatest of all time. And I think he's up there. But he wouldn't persevere for 3-4 years with a striker that isn't good enough, a goalie that isn't good enough, a DM that isn't good enough. He would go out like he did this January just gone and drop 200 million on new players. This summer, 200 to 300 million on new players. First year he arrived, loads of money spent. Second year he was in the club, loads of money spent. And there's no issue with that. Fergie spent money. Liverpool in the 70s and 80s, comparatively, the money was lower then, spent money. All the most successful teams in history, outside of you get the occasional example of a team like a Leicester that'll have a really good year or so. But by and large, the teams that have multiple years of continued success spend money. And I think for me, as you say, there is an element of overanalyzing, but actually, you can boil it down to this. They just need better players. Chalobah isn't good enough. I think Chelsea know that. That's why they loaned him out. Sanchez isn't good enough as an example. And the team just needs more experience. I still look at that Chelsea team and think very good technical players, talent here and there, but they lack leaders on the pitch. And we know this because we were old enough to remember great Man United teams, great Chelsea teams. It's ironic when you look at Arsenal. The Arsenal teams we grew up hating as United fans, when they went off the boil for all those years, the lack of leadership was a thing. Now you look at Arsenal and they've got more and more leaders on the pitch. And I think you look at City at their pomp under Pep. How many captains and international captains legitimately did they have in their team? Loads of them. And that's what Chelsea need the most for me. They really do need experience this summer.
It's interesting because, like, when we were talking about Man United, I was reading a live chat and people were like going, I'm an Arsenal fan. It's not my job to tell you what Man United want. I'm more focused on Arsenal, this, that, the other. That's fine. But there's a lot of people watching this show who like football. And there's a lot of people who watch That's Football who like football. And I look at Chelsea as a Man United fan and I'm intrigued. I look at Arsenal and I'm intrigued as to how they can improve. I've been looking at Chelsea since Todd Boehly came in and the billions that have been spent. And it amazes me. You haven't got the money argument because you've spent 100 million on this and 80 million on that. Why didn't they go and get Osimhen when he went to Galatasaray? Why didn't they go and get an experienced striker? And it's really interesting that Man United and Chelsea are battling it out for Liam Delap. And I actually think the winner is the person who misses out and buys a 26-year-old proven striker. Because I don't think Liam Delap is going to solve Chelsea's problems next season. And I don't think he's going to solve Man United's problems. And yet they're both battling it out for that. And I think that's symbolic of where Man United and Chelsea are going wrong, is that they're both competing with each other for kids and learners. And Arsenal need a striker. They're not looking at Liam Delap because they need a guy to go in and score goals and be a finished article. And it just amazes me with Chelsea that they haven't spent that money on that striker. And it's glaringly obvious that they need that guy up front because goals win games.
Yeah, I was listening to your show earlier, actually. I had it on. You were talking about how he made I like Delap. I think there's a real talented player in there. And I'm sure you do as well. You think he's talented. You said something that resonated with me, though. And I just thought, yeah. When Charlie Austin first came to the Prem, he scored a lot of goals. There's been a number of players that have been promoted to the Prem and started off really well by scoring goals.
Garlo did it with Watford first season.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. And I thought, I like Delap, and if we get him, I'll support him, and I'll hope it works out. But if he has a drop-off year 2, year 3, year 4, Man United, we know we need it. Chelsea need it as well. If both our teams this season had a prolific striker like a Victor Osimhen, Chelsea would have maintained themselves in the title race. Top 4 would be a guarantee. And Man United could be anywhere between 5 to 8 places higher in the league if we'd have got someone who could convert our chances. So it's such an important piece of recruitment to get right.
Yeah, well, it's the finished article, isn't it? You're right. Chelsea would be comfortably in the top 5 if they had that striker now. Arsenal would probably be in a real title race if they had that striker now.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't be as stressed as they are about the Bernabeu tomorrow if they had that striker now. So if Man United had that striker now, we wouldn't be where we are. But people seem to want to go for, let's get a guy who might be good in 3 years. Well, football's not got patience for a start. So
I hear that. I mean, Fraser here saying Delap's wants 100k a week. Osimhen wants 300,000. What Osimhen has is, I mean, this year 29 goals. Last year 17. Year before that 31. The year before that 18 goals as an example. The year before that 18 goals. Season before that 20 goals. He has consistently scored a high amount of goals. He has 26 goals in 40 international appearances as an example. This man has won Serie A and was one of the best players in the league that year. He just has, when people say, for me, he's worth it. I would rather gamble. Every signing's a gamble to a certain
100%.
degree.
Yeah.
I think Osimhen, especially as you're talking about a price, you're hearing of 50 to 60 million pounds. He isn't even that much more expensive because you're hearing 40 to 50 for Delap. I don't think it's that big a risk. And he's not even that. I like the age as well. I want to say 26. I could be wrong. He's 26. He'll turn 27 next season. So he's entering his pomp. He's entering the best years of his life. And I'm never, listen, I think there's a sensational player in Victor Osimhen. Yep, you could probably find a compilation of bad touches and bad misses, but he has, I always look at something in a striker, and there's a few in the world that can do it now, where they get, the kids would call it a low XG opportunity or low XG chance. We'd call it a half chance, but it's where there may be a slightly acute angle, might be a defender around them, and they have a shot, and they're able, on a fairly consistent basis, to bury it into the top corner, the far corner, with great accuracy and power, but we've almost degenerated from nothing. And for me, like, we lack that. Like, for our strikers to score goals, they have to almost be sitters. Does that make? They almost have to be harder to miss than score for us to score goals. We need players that can kind of create some of their own, that can score those hard, because those hard, I don't think people realize how important half chances are. How important, how many goals has Salah scored this year where he's had the ball, the right-hand side of the opponent's box, dipped a shoulder turn, whacked it with his left foot and put it into the far corner. If you say 5 or 6, you're probably about right. That may have won them an extra 9 to 10 points. It's those little margins that are so key, I think. Really, really key indeed. Lyle here says, Terry is waffling. There's a reason that he is playing in Turkey.
Yeah, he fell out with the club.
Yeah, he fell out with Napoli. We were in a title race this year. And I think clubs have made a mistake in not paying him the wages, because I think he'd have delivered for Chelsea. We'll soon see in the future, Lyle. If he stays in Turkey for another year, if no big clubs ever buy him, if his career fades out, then fair enough. Maybe you can say you were right, and that'd be fair. But I'm saying I would just give him a chance. Miss Tori here says, keep up the good content. Thank you very much, Tori. Appreciate that. Me, 115 annually for football. I'm soon done. Is that how much they charge you in Norway? I told you guys before, you got to get on my little hack. Get a bit of NordVPN, get Satanta Sports, $3.99. It's legal. You're not illegally streaming. $3.99 a month. Change your location. You know what I mean? Get signed up now. That's what I do. $3.99 a month they pay in Moldova, and it isn't just it's every Prem game, every La Liga
you do that
game.
on a VPN, do you?
Yeah. Mate, listen, I'm an Eastender. I'll always find an angle. You got to find an angle, mate. You got to find an angle.
Well, the thing is, they probably say that is illegal, but to be honest with you, try and get taken to court on that.
Well, it's not illegal. It's against terms of service. So the worst that can happen is they can chop your account down from happening. But it's, again, you've got the BBC iPlayer. It says on their terms that you can't use a VPN to watch the shows. But again, no one's going to. It's not illegal. It's not against the law because you're paying for it. They're just saying you can't watch it when you're not in that country. But I don't care. You know what I mean? It's still $3.99 a month. Even if you have it for a year and they shut it down, think about how much money it's going to save you. Like, it's one of them.